If you are planning a trip to Mount Rushmore, then this is the video for you. As a first-time visitor, there's some things that you'll definitely want to know as you're planning your trip. And so today I want to walk you through everything that you need to make your trip to Mount Rushmore successful. My name is Ash. I'm a former park ranger and the founder of Dirt in My Shoes, and Mount Rushmore and the whole South Dakota area really is a family favorite for us. We are there all the time. We know this area super well. And so today I want to walk you through what you need to know, especially if you're planning on visiting Mount Rushmore. So a lot of people pretty much just go to the Rapid City area for Mount Rushmore, so it's a big deal, and it's something that you'll want to make sure you plan well so that you can have a great time. Let's jump in with what you need to know. Mount Rushmore is located in the beautiful Black Hills of South Dakota. It took 14 years to carve, and it features 4 presidents on this mountain, presidents that have made a big difference in American history. So when you go to Mount Rushmore, it's really a history lesson, and a lot of people think that just going and seeing the mountain and then leaving is enough. In fact, that's the way a lot of people actually experience Mount Rushmore. But I am here to encourage you to spend a little bit more time here, dig in a little bit deeper, and really come to know how special and important this place is in American history. So let's take a look at the map because there is a lot to do here in this area. So Mount Rushmore is located in the Rapid City area of South Dakota. So you'll see Rapid City right up here. And Mount Rushmore is right down here. And so you are a little bit outside of Rapid City. Rapid City is not a terrible place to base your trip out of. It's very central to a lot of things. But if you do want to get closer to Mount Rushmore, then you'll want to come into the Black Hills in here and maybe spend some more time in Hill City, Keystone, or Custer, some of these areas that are closer to Mount Rushmore National Memorial. You'll also notice you have Custer State Park right here, Jewel Cave, Wind Cave. You've got Badlands out here. You've got the Minuteman Missile Site out here. You'll see this map says Devil's Tower, which is about an hour and a half up here. So there is a ton to do in this area, which is what makes a trip to Mount Rushmore so fun. Chances are that you're not just planning to see Mount Rushmore while you're here in Rapid City, and so I'm going to walk you through some of the other sites just briefly as well, but our main focus will be on Mount Rushmore. Okay, so now that we have the lay of the land, let's talk about the best way to get to Mount Rushmore. If you're flying, then there is a regional airport in Rapid City, which is a really great option to get you close to all of the sites. Regional airports typically are a little more expensive than the international ones, and so you may have a hard time finding a flight that will fit your budget coming into Rapid City. If that's the case, then there are some other options, but they are quite far away. Coming over to my website, Dirt in My Shoes, I do have an article all about this, so if you want to read about it in greater detail than I cover in this video, here it is, and I will link this in the description below. But basically, here's our map. You've got Mount Rushmore down here, the Rapid City Regional Airport's over here. That's a really, really great option for getting to Mount Rushmore. But if you're not able to fly in there, then you will need to look at a international airport that's a little bit further away. So you've got the Billings Logan International Airport out here, Casper International Airport down here, and then Denver down here. So those really are the closest options if you don't fly into Rapid City, which that airport's right around here. So you can see it is quite a drive, but a lot of people like to come to Mount Rushmore en route from other places. So if you flew into Billings, you could go to Yellowstone. Yellowstone's over in here. Or if you flew into Denver, you could go to Rocky Mountain National Park, which is down in here. And so it's not a terrible idea to fly maybe a little bit further out and then see some other things as you're in the area. This article also talks about the best roads as you're approaching Mount Rushmore, and so if you are driving, you'll want to read through this. Rapid City is easily accessible via I-90, and so a lot of people come in that way. If you come in via I-90 over here, you'll pass Badlands, which is out here, When you get closer to Mount Rushmore, then you'll see there are a lot of smaller roads in here, some really cool sights you can see. Some of my favorite roads in Custer State Park are the Needles Highway and the Iron Mountain Road. You've got Highway 244, which just kind of cuts right in front of Mount Rushmore. So if you are driving, then you'll want to pay attention to these various highways and the different things you can see in the area. Now I want to talk about the best time to visit Mount Rushmore. So after you fly into Rapid City and you're coming into Mount Rushmore, what time of year should you plan on visiting this area? Now, what's cool about Mount Rushmore is it is open year-round, so you can come at any time. If you're not afraid of a little snow, then you can come in the winter. What you will want to pay more attention to is that Mount Rushmore is actually only open for certain hours of the day. So while it is open year-round, you'll want to pay attention to what hours the memorial is actually open. They do close it down. They lock it down every night. There's no overnight visitors. You can't just come and go as you please. And so you will want to pay attention to those hours. To go along with that, you will need to buy a parking pass or pay a parking fee when you get to Mount Rushmore. And that is good for a year, so you can come and go as you want to after you pay that parking fee. But just note that if you have a senior pass or an America the Beautiful pass, anything like that, that does not count towards your parking fee. So you will need to pay that when you get to Mount Rushmore. You'll park in the parking garage, and then you'll walk up to the memorial. So now you may be saying that's all fine and good, but when should I actually go? For Mount Rushmore and the other South Dakota sites that are in that same area, I do recommend going in the summer if you can. Typically June through August is the high season in this area. That's when you'll have everything open. That's when all the ranger programs will be running. That's when you'll really be able to get the most out of your time here. But of course, that does come with more crowds. And so you'll need to kind of balance that if that worries you. But typically when we go to South Dakota, if we're going to Badlands and Wind Cave and Mount Rushmore and Deadwood and all the places, the summer months are the best times to be there because that's when everything is up and running. There is a caveat to this though. If you don't want to go during the summer, I actually love September in this area. So typically things will still be running into September. You don't get the snow quite yet. We've been in October when we've gotten snowed on, but September's usually okay. And when you visit in September, you should be able to still get to everything. It should be open. All my favorite activities, ranger programs, things like that should still be running in September. So if you don't want to go during the summer months, plan a trip for maybe the first couple weeks of September. I really feel like that's the sweet spot. I love September in this area. If you want to go towards the end of September and see the buffalo roundup at Custer State Park, which is Mount Rushmore's neighbor, that's a really cool thing to do too. So sometime in September, as you get towards the end of the month, that's when the weather starts getting a little bit more unpredictable. But September is my favorite month to be in the Black Hills. I do just want to remind you that you do want to check the NPS site for Mount Rushmore. I'll link it below this video. You'll want to check those current conditions, make sure you're up to date with what's going on in the National Memorial, what's open and what's not. Or I will keep track of all that for you with the Mount Rushmore itinerary that I have on Dirt in My Shoes. This itinerary actually includes all the South Dakota national parks in this area, so Mount Rushmore, Badlands, Wind Cave, Devil's Tower, all of that is included with this hour-by-hour itinerary. And I also keep track of everything that's open, the timing of it all, what to expect when you're there. All of that is included with this National Parks itinerary bundle. Okay, so you've figured out how to get here. You've figured out what time of year you want to be at Mount Rushmore. Now let's talk about how much time to actually give yourself to see Mount Rushmore. So here's the thing. A lot of people just come to Mount Rushmore. They do like the walk out to the viewpoint. They see the mountain and then they leave. That's typically how people experience Mount Rushmore. But because I'm such a nerd and I love the national parks so much, I'm always looking for ways to greater explore and enhance my experience in these places. And so if you're like me and you're really wanting to dig in, I would give yourself about 4 to 5 hours at Mount Rushmore. 4 to 5 hours is a great amount of time to get to everything and to also dig in a little deeper and learn a little bit more about the significance of this site, which I think is really important versus just looking at the president's faces and leaving. You can actually learn about the men who carved the mountain. You can learn about why each president is on the mountain. You can take self-guided tour. You can do a little bit of hiking. You can join a ranger program, which I think Mount Rushmore has some really, really great ranger programs. Actually, one of my very favorite ranger programs in the entire country is at Mount Rushmore. And so if you can give yourself a little bit more time to dig in, you will not be sorry. It is really a really cool experience. So knowing that you only probably need about a half a day at Mount Rushmore, 4 to 5 hours, that gives you a lot of other options to fill the rest of that day, or if you're staying multiple days, you'll have a lot of time to move through this Black Hills area and see some other really cool things. So what I like to do is I like to go to Mount Rushmore for a half a day, and then I will usually spend that other half a day in Custer State Park, which is really close to Mount Rushmore. There's some super cool things you can do there. I'll spend a day or two in Badlands National Park. I'll spend a day in Wind Cave, and then I'll usually spend another day up in Deadwood or Lead or Sturgis or Spearfish, something around there. Or I'll drive out to Devil's Tower, which is a little bit further away, but totally worth it. So for the whole Black Hills experience, if you're already in Rapid City and you're just wanting to kind of see everything that's there, I recommend about 5 days. You can do it in 3 or 4, but 5 days is kind of the sweet spot if you want to be able to spend time at all of those various places. And again, my South Dakota itinerary on Dirt in My Shoes, which I will link below this video, covers 5 days in South Dakota and gets you to all of those places. So if you need some help planning out your day-to-day schedule, that's there for you. But I typically will spend a good amount of time in this area because you will never run out of things to do here. Now I want to dig in a little bit on where to stay when you're coming to Mount Rushmore. That's the next step. Now that you know how many days you want to spend in the area, where do you want to stay? I do have another full video that goes into more detail and more specifics about where to stay near Mount Rushmore. And so you'll want to watch that if you need additional help. And if you want a little bit more of a walkthrough, go check out that video. But as a general, just quickly gloss over where to stay if you're going to Mount Rushmore, let's take a look at the map. Okay, so here's the area map again for everything that you can do near Rapid City. And if you're wanting to stay near Mount Rushmore, your best options really are Keystone or Hill City. Those are kind of the gateway towns to Mount Rushmore. If you want to be really close, those are great options. Those also, especially Keystone, lead down into Custer State Park, which has some additional lodging options that are really good. I would just say if you're really wanting to base your trip more around this area, then I would stay in the northern part of Custer State Park, because once you start getting down into the southern part, it's a lot longer drive to get up to Mount Rushmore. The town of Custer is fine too. That's just a little bit further out than these other two places, but it does put you close to Custer State Park and Wind Cave and Jewel Cave. It puts you close to Crazy Horse, which is right along this road, and so that's a good option as well. But typically, if I'm going to all of these sites here in the Black Hills, I will stay somewhere in this circle: Hill City, Keystone, Custer, or the top part of Custer State Park. From there, you can drive to all these other areas, which are really cool, definitely worth your time as well, and it puts you in really close proximity to Mount Rushmore as well. Now, you can stay in Rapid City and do all of this. That is definitely a possibility. A lot of people like to just have one place to stay for their whole time in South Dakota. And if so, then Rapid City actually is a good base camp because you can easily drive into the Black Hills from there. You can easily get over to Badlands National Park from there. And you can get up to Deadwood and Lead and Devil's Tower, Spearfish. All of that is easily accessible from Rapid City as well. So if you are planning on going to all of the different sites while you're here, Rapid City is fine. Or if you want to kind of move around, move your lodging around a little bit more, then I would stay in here for doing these things. And then I would stay specifically out by Badlands National Park for seeing Badlands and etc. So it's really up to you whether you want to make just one base camp in Rapid City and then travel outward to all these different places, or if you want to move your lodging around a little bit. It is nice to be in the Black Hills, in Keystone or Hill City, to get closer to Mount Rushmore and Custer State Park and other things that you'll want to do in there. But if you do move in there, then you're quite far from Badlands, so I don't like commuting from Custer State Park or Keystone over to Badlands, so you'll want to move your lodging a little bit if you plan on doing that. So just a brief overview. Again, if you want more specific information and suggestions on where to stay, I have some of my favorite places that I share in the Where to Stay Near Mount Rushmore video that I have on this channel. Let's talk about the things that you'll want to do while you're here at Mount Rushmore. And again, hopefully I'll talk you into spending a little bit extra time versus just going, seeing the mountain and leaving. I'll give you some ideas to spend a few more hours there and really dig into what makes Mount Rushmore so special. I have this really cool article on dirtandmyshoes.com about the best things to do at Mount Rushmore. This will walk you through really all of your options here in this area. And so here's your top 5. The Avenue of Flags will take you to that grand viewpoint that's so popular. The Sculptor's Studio is where you go to learn more about the men who carved Mount Rushmore and kind of how they did it. The Presidential Trail is really cool. It takes you up super close to the faces, gives you just a different perspective. You can get some famous vanilla ice cream. And then this activity, the evening lighting ceremony, is probably my favorite thing that you can do at Mount Rushmore as a whole. And so this is a ranger program where they talk about how the mountain was carved and all the important stuff about that, and then they light the mountain behind you at the end. So it's really, really cool. It's one of my favorite ranger programs in the country. So I typically like to be at Mount Rushmore more in the evenings so that I can catch this lighting ceremony. Now that's only 5 things, but those 5 things will take you a few hours. So definitely plan on some extra time. And then if you have anything else that you want to do, like really cool activities to do with kids, we love the Junior Ranger program at this one. If you want to do a longer hike, there are some options. If you don't want to hike, you can see Mount Rushmore through tunnels as you drive the Iron Mountain Road in Custer State Park, which is really cool. That's a different way to see Mount Rushmore. If you're there during the winter, I have some activities, various ranger programs that you can do. So tons of different options to add a little bit more depth to your vacation. This section is really fun, high adventure activities. So these are things that you can do near Mount Rushmore. After you've seen Mount Rushmore, here's some other ways to see it. Hot air balloon rides, things like that. So some really cool options in here if you're looking for more activities to do near Mount Rushmore. If you hike the Presidential Trail, go to the Sculptor's Studio, do an evening ranger program or just a regular ranger program, a self-guided tour, the Junior Ranger program, all of that will take you probably about 4 hours. So again, just some really cool ideas to spend a little bit more time here. I've mentioned some other places to go as well. So again, give yourself a few extra days to come over here and to go to Jewel Cave or Custer State Park or Wind Cave or Badlands, Deadwood, Spearfish, Devil's Tower. All of that out here will take you a few more days. So don't just drive through and stop at Mount Rushmore. Give yourself more time to really experience this area. One more thing I will say about when you're planning your time in Mount Rushmore and when you're really putting together your itinerary is I would choose either early morning or later evening to visit Mount Rushmore. So I do not like going here in the middle of the day. I don't recommend it. This is the busiest time at Mount Rushmore. This is when all the big buses come and just unload hundreds of people at the site. It does get pretty chaotic. And so if you can go in the earlier morning hours before the buses really start coming around 9 or 10, that's really good. If you can come later, once the buses stop dropping people off, closer to dinner time, a lot of times we'll get there around 4 or so and then do all these things, which is a really good time to be there as well. So if you can avoid the middle of the day at Mount Rushmore, I highly recommend that, just to, help with the crowd control and things like that. And I will note, if you want really good pictures of Mount Rushmore, then you will want to go in the earlier morning when the light is shining on the faces. The sunlight shines on the faces in the morning. But if you want a really unique experience, go in the evening for the lighting ceremony. You can stay for sunset. The sun sets right behind Mount Rushmore, which is really cool. And then they do the evening lighting, and so you can get it all lit up. So for various different photography purposes, you'll want to keep that in mind. Both times are really cool times to be there. And as a final tip, don't forget to plan something else that highlights Mount Rushmore in a different way. So I mentioned you can do a helicopter tour, you can do hot air balloon rides, you can see Mount Rushmore in a different way pretty easily in this area. If you're looking for something that's a little bit less high adventure and not as expensive, then I mentioned you can drive the Iron Mountain Road. If you start from within Custer State Park and drive north along the Iron Mountain Road, then you will go through some tunnels that perfectly frame Mount Rushmore, and that's a really cool experience too. So lots of really cool stuff to do in this area. Spend 4 to 5 hours at Mount Rushmore and then explore everything else there is to see here in Rapid City. So if you need any help adding anything else in, any more in-depth help with anything, head over to dirtinmyshoes.com. I have a ton of articles there for you that will walk you through everything as you're planning your trip. I have a fully planned out trip itinerary that you can get if you want even a little bit more help from me. But I hope that you are able to plan the perfect trip to Mount Rushmore and that you have a great time in the beautiful Black Hills of South Dakota. Happy trails!